Hello everyone, I am Anurag, faculty at the Department of English, St. Albert's College, Autonomous. So today we are going to discuss a really short poem by Chinua Achebe. Chinua Achebe is a Nigerian writer, and we are going to talk about Africa. Okay, African continent, right? You might be aware of African continent. What Joseph Conrad wrote about Africa, the heart of darkness. So is it really the heart of darkness? Can you find some light in a dark continent like Africa? So these are all really philosophical questions. They are all really complex questions. And this poem, Chinua Achebe's Refugee Mother and Child, this talks about the problem that Africa faced after colonialism. So if you would take, for example, if you take the African continent, if you take that map, the present day map, and if you try to find out the countries, you would find that almost all the countries, they are almost divided with a ruler. Okay, they are just straight line squares. Okay, some countries resemble a square, a big square. So what happened to Africa? You see, unlike India was colonized by one major power. There were many major powers, many European powers, but one major power got the best of all the other powers. Okay, it was the British Empire, the United Kingdom. They ruled over India. So we all talk in English, and if it was France, then we would have been talking French. Okay, we would talk in that language. But it was the English who conquered India, and because of that reason, we are all speaking in English. But when you come to Africa, it was first a tribal society. There were many tribal societies, and what happened to Africa was that these colonial powers, they came. There were wars between tribals. Yes, there were tribal wars. But when these colonial powers came, they claimed all these lands. And their own language, the language of the African people, it got diminished. They were wiped out, these languages of the African people, and they followed the language of these European nations. And what happened? What the result was that many of the nations, they started talking in different languages. Okay, they started talking in different languages, and they can't see each other. So because of that, there were many wars. And here we are talking about a civil war, a refugee camp. The refugee camp is the setting. We are talking about a civil war. No Madonna and child could touch that picture of a mother's tenderness. For a son, she soon would have to forget. Okay, so very deep lines here. So no Madonna and child. So what do you mean by Madonna? Madonna and child, Mother Mary and Jesus Christ. That painting, you might have seen that painting of Mother Mary and Jesus Christ. And the tenderness in that painting. This mother and child. Okay, Chinua Achebe is at a refugee camp and he's looking at a mother and a child is there. And this, by looking at this mother and child, he remembered this painting of this Madonna and Jesus Christ, the infant Jesus. It resembled that. But here, the poet Chinua Achebe is telling us that the tenderness of what he saw, that refugee mother and child, though they are not that beautiful, they are not depicted as beautiful. They are in a very pathetic condition. But even then, there is some tenderness in that situation, in that image that he saw there in that refugee camp. For a son, she would soon have to forget. So Madonna and Jesus Christ, Mother Mary and Jesus Christ. Mother Mary, she lost her child, Jesus Christ, and in the same manner, our refugee mother and child, the mother knows that she would soon have to forget this child because her child is about to die because it's a refugee camp. And what was the reason? The air was heavy with odors of diarrhea, of unwashed children. So here we are describing about a refugee camp, and in that refugee camp we can see diarrhea. Okay, diarrhea is an epidemic there, and this epidemic has killed a lot of children, and diarrhea of unwashed children, so no hygiene at all these children, with washed out ribs and dried up bottoms, struggling in labored steps, behind blown empty bellies. So if you have seen such malnourished children, they would have pot bellies, right? If you see, you might have seen such images because of the lack of nourishment. So these children, they are in that refugee camp and they are laboring. They are trying really hard not to not to achieve something, but to survive. Okay, surviving. That's what they are trying to labor. They are not working in some camp. Okay, they are not working there. They are trying to save their life. So that's what what do you mean by laboring? Most mothers there had long ceased to care, but not this one. So all the other mothers there, they knew that their children will die. They will die for sure. So there is no need to care for those children, because if they care for their children, then they would have to be in grief, right? After their children die, with their sure that they will die, they would have to grieve for those children. So, but this mother is not concerned about that grief. She still cares for her child. She held a ghost smile between her teeth, and in her eyes the ghost of a mother's pride, as she combed the rust-colored hair left of his skull, and then, singing in her eyes, began carefully to part it. Okay, so what is this mother trying to do? This mother is keeping her child in her lap and is combing his hair, combing his rust-colored hair, what's left of his hair, because his hair is almost bald and there are only some hair left, and it's rusty because of the lack of nourishment. And she is trying to comb that hair with her hands. And what does this imply? So why is this mother caring for this child? For a child who will die soon. Why is this mother caring for that child? In another life, this would have been a little daily act of no consequences before his breakfast and school. Okay, so in another part of the world. Okay, so we are talking about Africa. For example, consider some other place. For example, the United States. Okay, one wealthy family in the United States. In that family, in a wealthy family, the children, they would go for school, right? The mother, they would comb the hair of the children, and they would prepare the breakfast for these children, and then leave them for school, okay, for education, to get education. But this mother is also combing her hair, just like that mother in a wealthy family. How a mother in a wealthy family cares for her child, giving the best education, the best food, the best nourishment. But here also we can see the mother caring for the child in the same manner. So why is this mother caring for her child like that? Now she did it like putting flowers on a tiny grave. So what is the mother doing? This mother is combing her child's hair and to prepare him for his death. Okay, so you can see how strong the emotions are in this poem. Because the mother is caring for her child, she is combing her hair like putting flowers on his grave. Okay, because he will die for sure in the future. And this mother is trying to care for her child, okay, and to prepare him for his death. Okay, so she is trying to give him some happiness before he dies. So that's what this mother is trying to do. But she knows that she would have to pay a cost, the cost of grieving, because after her child dies, then she would have to grieve. This poem, it talks about war. It really talks about the civil war. What happens in a war? People, they die, right? People, they die. They would have to face a really sad situation because they would have to renounce everything, right? They not renounce purposefully. They would have to involuntarily do it, because if a war happens, then people, they would be they would be on the streets, right? They wouldn't have anything. And this is one major theme. Okay, so this poem is relevant even today. Today also we can see refugee crisis, right? The Syrian refugee crisis. There are many refugee crises taking place all over the world. And what happens when this refugee crisis happens? These people, they would have to leave everything, be in their refugee camp, and they might also die, okay, because they would have to live in a condition that's far less than what they used to have. So that's about this poem. This is a very powerful poem, and here the poet is trying to use some biblical imagery also. The image of Madonna and infant Jesus. Okay, so that's so here we are seeing that in a refugee camp. Okay, in a refugee camp, such tenderness could it be found? Can it be found? Can there be light in a heart of darkness? So this with this note, we have come to the end of this lesson. It's about refugee mother and child. So it's a really easy poem, but it has got some really powerful emotions, and it also helps us to think in a different perspective. So thank you all, and see you later.